Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5 a.m. Club. As you can see, the weather has changed. It's a wintry, cloudy day up here at Nelson Bay, and I'm at a beautiful location known as Zenith Beach, and we'll go for a bit of a walk and talk. And I've got a very interesting book summary to talk about today. A very sensitive topic, a topic that impacts many people, more so these days than at any other point in time, I believe. But let's just have a bit of a look around before we start the book summary. What we've got there is Mount Tomaree. It's a very windy day. Normally I'd go up to the top there and do my vlog on the summit of Mount Tomaree. But because of the very blowy, windy conditions today, I thought it would be probably better to come and find a location which was interesting but not impacted by the breeze. So what are we going to talk about today? Today we're going to talk about a book entitled Conscious Uncoupling. Conscious Uncoupling. And it's written by an author named Katherine Woodward Thomas, who's the person who coined this phrase. And you may be wondering what conscious uncoupling is all about. So without further ado, we'll kick into it. I'll just stand over here between the rocks, and hopefully we'll be on the lookout to see a dolphin swim by, and maybe even a whale. So the book Conscious Uncoupling is all about divorce, but more importantly, how to do it in a civilized way, and how to deal with breakup, and to learn to go from happy ever after to happy even after. One of the most difficult transitions, I believe, is when people break up and try and move on. And sadly, I've seen lots of people over the years divorce. Some have been amicable, but the most, sadly, have been very bitter and unsettling, not only for the couple, but also for all of those around them. So the author here is famous for working with high-profile celebrities and helping them work through their challenges and problems. And once again, she's come up with an empowering sort of term, because divorce, the word divorce in itself, is quite unnerving and disempowering, I'd hasten to say. But to talk about conscious uncoupling, I guess, puts a better spin on it. It gives it some intention. It allows us to think about what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I like the way that she uses the metaphor and uses the terminology to help take away the stigma of divorce by suggesting that people can learn to go from happy ever after, which we know ourselves, we know everybody knows the fact that it doesn't quite work for everybody. So learning how to go from happy ever after to happy even after. As you can see, we've got this majestic sea eagle just swimming past the beach on its way, battling the wind, battling the breeze. I wonder if it's going to come down over here somewhere. and there's another eagle up there, and another couple of eagles actually. There's 3 eagles I can see soaring in the sky in these very, very blustery, windy conditions. So the author here then goes on to talk about the importance of attacking this topic from an empowering perspective. And I'm a little bit cautious with the words that I use because I know it's a very, very sensitive topic for many people. So we're looking at ways in which we can gracefully move from a dysfunctional relationship and transition into the next phase of people's lives, because that's what I guess divorce is all about, or meant to be. But as I say, having observed some very, very good friends of mine and family members over the years deal with divorce, it is quite painful, and this whole transitioning to the next phase of life is something that most people, I guess, struggle with very, very badly. So the bottom line, according to this author, is that people really need to try their best to achieve a healthy and potentially even a rewarding separation, because breakup, divorce is never easy, but to try and achieve a healthy and rewarding separation, I guess, is the objective of this author and of this book. And conscious uncoupling is a way that the author provides through a number of steps to help people achieve the best possible outcome from a challenging set of circumstances. So the first formal point to come out of this book from this author, Katherine Woodward Thomas, is that there shouldn't be any shame in calling it quits on a relationship that isn't healthy. We all go into relationships with the best intentions. As I say to people, we all start from the same starting point, loving, caring, and getting on really, really well with one's partner. However, not all relationships are fruitful, and some relationships deteriorate over time for various reasons. Some things happen which are preventable, but without the care, without the observation, without the teamwork from both parties and the people around us, some things, I guess, get worse and worse over time. And the last thing you want for anybody is for them to wake up one day and ask themselves, how did things get to where they are, and why are things so bad, and why and how am I trapped in a relationship which is now dysfunctional, where that's just painful, and all it is I guess, characterised by fighting, suffering, and maybe even violence, and domestic violence at that, mental abuse. Once again, I don't know all the circumstances that people get into. I'm not a psychologist. All I am is just relating the lessons from this book to see if there's anything that any of us can learn in terms of having a better life. So as the author tries to portray and to make a very, very bold point, and I commend her for it, is to suggest in a respectful way that there really isn't any shame in calling it quits, for people to call it quits on a relationship which isn't healthy and doesn't have a good future. And my spiritual father also says this all the time. He says, look, at the end of the day, from his experiences with dealing with people, is that there are relationships which just are no longer viable. And in that situation, then people need to make a decision. And it's a very simple decision. Do you try to continue to stay together and make it work? Or do you part ways in a respectful way and then move on with your life and allow your partner to move on with their lives? Because the author, as well as my spiritual father, says that everybody needs to find a way to leave without feeling shame, without feeling the shame. Because as we said time and time again, not every relationship, not every marriage is able to do the distance for various reasons. And in Greece at the moment, there's a case of a young couple, I think 31 years of age, where the husband murdered his wife. And the last thing anybody wants is for people to be in relationships which are that dysfunctional, that lead to violence, and to lead to violence which ends in the death of a partner. And the horrific death, should I add, of a particular partner. So the author then goes on to give us a bit of history of marriage and relationships. And he said that the whole concept of till death do us part comes, according to this author, from as way back as the 14th century. And we need to put it into context, because back in the 14th century, people married for their entire lives till death do us part, knowing very well that people only lived to the age of 40. They didn't live to 80 or 90 or 70. People lived, were married, had children, but most people's relationship only went for 10 or 20 years, not for 60 or 70. So the whole context, the whole marriage thing has dramatically changed over time. And given that the average age was 40 back in the 14th century, marriage back then was more of an economic thing than a love thing and a being able to stay together forever sort of thing. So the author here goes on to say that shame is living in a painful relationship where you're unloved and unappreciated. So we need to work out and to provide a map for people to be able to traverse these challenging times if they are finding it challenging. So the second formal point to come out of this author is that in order to consciously uncouple, people need to be loving, giving, and respectful during a breakup. Easy to say, but I reckon it would be hard, very, very hard to do, especially for people who are egotistical, possessive, and people who are socially connected to a lot of people, who have a lot of pride, who have families behind them, which are also prideful and egotistical. But as the author here reminds us, in reality, breakups, divorces are really, really complex. Which include bitterness, grief, and rage. And in some cases, dare I say, in most cases, people become spiteful. But the author reminds us and responsibly so, that it doesn't have to be like that. People don't have to be spiteful. Now, you hear of stories that, are very, very sad, but very, very real. But the author here reminds each and every person that it's not right or not useful to hurt and punish somebody else, because when you're hurting and punishing the other party, you're actually hurting and punishing yourself just as much, if not more. So the author makes a very valid point here, that the more vicious one is, the more they want to hurt and punish the other party. What they end up doing is hurting and punishing themselves even more. So the call to action from this author, and it's not going to be for every situation, but the call for action is a very simple one, and that is for those who are looking to break up and to divorce and to uncouple from a relationship. They need to work together with their partner, as hard as it may be, to create fertile ground to enable new love, and for each partner to grow, and for each partner to move on in a way which is fruitful and benefits both parties. Let me say that I am a person who is for family, for love, and for people staying together. Because I, like many people around me of my generation, I've been married for 36 years. And I know that there are good times and there are challenging times for each and every one of us. And sticking together through the good and bad times can be rewarding after many, many years. But I also understand and know that my view of the world, the relationship that I have with my wife, is quite rare. And sadly, 50% of people, half of all of those who fall in love and half of all those people who marry, will eventually break up and want to decouple from the person who was the man or woman of their dreams at one time in their lives. But things happen in life to everybody, and there are some relationships, as we mentioned before, that just don't survive the test of time. And for many reasons, it's probably better for those people to find a way to split up, break up, and move on. But to do it in a way, as this author says, to do it in a way which is respectful and which facilitates a fertile ground that allows each party to not live with shame, but to be able to move on and to find their life again. Some do, some don't, because the grass, while it looks greener on the other side of the fence, sometimes isn't. But that shouldn't be the problem that people who divorce have to deal with. Once a decision is made, then what the author is suggesting here is that it's done in good faith, and we allow the people around us to move on and to try and find a better life, and to do it in a way which facilitates fertile, as the author says, fertile ground, to make it easy so that it's not spiteful and it's not painful. But the author also, given her experience, acknowledges that it may not be easy, because some relationships end, and there's a dolphin out there, the dolphins have come, just at the right time. So what the author here is saying is that some relationships end because they're abusive, and we need to acknowledge the fact that some relationships are just really, really bad and really, really abusive, and that it's probably better that the divorce or the split up happens, and it may not ever be may not ever happen in a way which is going to be in a way which will provide a fertile ground, and it's never going to be on good terms. So the author says that they acknowledge that some breakups are going to be messy, and they're going to be messy for good reason. But the author here, as I said before, calls for action those couples who can possibly split up, break up, and do it in a orderly fashion, which doesn't end up costing them a fortune in terms of lawyers being involved, and to do it in a way which is not going to continue to provide damage to each of the parties, both mentally, physically, emotionally, and financially. So the author, how was it done? The author here gives 5 steps for conscious uncoupling. And the first step from this author is, first of all, people need to find emotional freedom. They need to separate from each other to enable each member to be released from the negativity of the bad relationship that they are in, to at least find themselves first. So the first point is to enable each person to identify and to be released from negativity, to find themselves. So sometimes, as we've probably, see the dolphin? I just saw a dolphin just surf and just come through that wave there. How beautiful. I don't know if I captured it on the camera, but the wave just came in and a dolphin was surfing that wave. How beautiful. How lucky am I this morning? So the second point from this author in terms of decoupling in a empowering way from a relationship is to reclaim power. Each person needs to reclaim the power in their lives and to start making their own decisions. But most importantly, the author here says that each person must cease playing the victim and accept that they too were party to the breakup. They too contributed to the pain and suffering for each other, and not to play the victim. You need to cease, according to this author, the victimhood, and to look instead for what you did rather than what the other person did to make the relationship unviable. The third point to come out of this book, and this is where friends and family and professional help can assist, is that people need to break the pattern in order to heal the heart, to stop worrying, to stop thinking about what happened and replaying it over and over and over in their heads. And they need to look at the core narratives that they have playing in their minds all the time, and to stop having people around them reminding them over and over again about the problems, about the mess that was created, and to continually blame the other party or other people. To stop and to break the pattern. A very, very powerful point. And this is probably the key point that most people get caught in. They just can't break the pattern, and they just keep on cycling over and over again in their head the old narrative and the victimhood and all of those issues that just can't get resolved. The next point that the author talks about here is that the author says that we need to become the love alchemist. How beautiful is that point? The author here says that we need to become a love alchemist. And what is a love alchemist? A love alchemist is that even though you're breaking up, even though you're sad and feeling the pain of divorce, and I love this point. This point here brings tears to my eyes, is that people still need to understand and think of the gains that people got from the relationship, from each other. Because even though a relationship comes to an end, even though there is pain along the way, there has been times of love, there's been times of cherishment, there have been some common things, common friends, common gains that were fostered through the relationship. You know, there's been love along the way. The couple have had children. They've had a shared love. They've watched those children grow. They've gone on holidays together. And they've had good times together. I remember this fondly, that my Uncle George, who was married to my Auntie Frida. My Auntie Frida is still alive. My Uncle George has passed away. On his deathbed, turned to my auntie and he said, if there was just one moment in our life, if there was just one moment that we spent together that was magical and beautiful, after I die, he says, all I want you to do is just to remember that one moment that we shared together that was truly, truly magical, and not to think about all or any, should I say, of the other moments that weren't as powerful, that weren't as wonderful. Because as we say, and as we know, that everybody who's married goes through good and bad times. And the last thing you want is when you separate, either through death or through divorce, is for the person to be thinking about all the terrible times that they may have had, all those traumatic times that they may have had together. Because there were good times. Every relationship had some great times, and those great times shouldn't be spoilt, shouldn't be lost, shouldn't be damaged just because people divorce. So I love this point. This is a very, very empowering point. Think of the good times that you had together rather than to focus on the bad times is the key call to action. And the last point to come out of this wonderful text, and I am very emotional this morning because it is a very, very tough topic to talk about, and it's something that every parent, every grandparent, I guess, dreads, that the last thing you want is for your children to get married and then to get divorced. Nobody wants that of their children, and no child wants that of their parent as well. So we've got to understand that it is painful for everybody. But the author here brings it to a head and talks about what one can do to at least get through it without shame and without the ongoing suffering that people feel throughout their lives, where parents don't talk to each other, but where couples don't talk to each other and they're warring each other for the rest of their days. So the last point that the author talks about in this wonderful book is that you need to start your happy ever after, and each party to the relationship that is splitting up, that is ending, needs to make new friends, be allowed to indulge in new relationships, and once healed, if possible, forge a platonic relationship with their ex-partner. To be civilized, to be civil, and to be platonic, and to be able to talk to their ex-partner. But of course you need to clarify the boundaries, because when people move on, they have new relationships, they fall in love again, hopefully, and they get married. And with new partners and new people in the relationship, of course, there needs to be boundaries that need to be respected. But the couple still needs to be platonic and still needs to work together and make decisions regarding their family, and they do need to collaborate to ensure that their children and grandchildren live as better life as they can, and to make it easier for the children, not harder, I guess is the bottom line. So I think I'll finish up now. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5 a.m. Club. I'm coming to you from the beach here at Zenith. We've got Mount Tomaree up there in the background. It was a very, very difficult topic on this cold, blustery winter's morning, but I think we got through it. So thank you very much for bearing with me on a tough topic. Jeez, that was a tough topic. But one of the things that I love about Jim's 5 a.m. Club is that I am an emissary. I'm just a messenger. I've taken some notes from the book summary. This author has written this book, which has been a very, very popular book, and has sold millions of copies. So it's stood the test of time. So obviously there are people who value the message that come from this book. This person is deemed to be a world leader in this sort of topic, conscious coupling, which means intentional divorce, where people get together and do it in a orderly fashion to try and minimise the pain and suffering and collateral damage, which is something that happens a lot these days. So let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I'm well, I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable, and where possible, stay together. But we need to acknowledge that not all couples can stay together for different reasons. But the author here has given us a few steps, or given people a few steps. Let me make it clear, I'm not divorcing. I'm happily married, and I'm not talking about this book for any particular reason other than it was the next book in the list of books that I was going to do a book summary on. But I did find it a very, very powerful experience, and hopefully I'll never have to use anything in this book, and my children and friends and family will not have to use anything in this book either. But sadly, 1 in every 2 relationships ends up in divorce. So there are some key messages there that we can help people get through. So I think I'll finish up now. So thank you once again. And it's a beautiful day, very, very cloudy, and we'll make the most of the rest of the day. I do have a number of book summaries that I put together last night because it was overcast, it was wet, and I just sat down and just felt like I was in the mood to read and take notes. So we'll chat again from a different location with a different message, a message of empowerment, and hopefully we can be the wind beneath our wings, and we can live, learn and pass it on, and stay married for as long as we can to the people, to the person who are stuck with us for so many years. Anyway, yasas, take care. Filakya. Oh, my hands are numb from the cold. Yasas, and we'll chat again. Take care, And hi Libby, I can see you there watching. Have a good day, love. Kia ora pume. Hopefully back at Opposites one day. Yasas, have a good Saturday and bye for now.